Hey guys, so I'm back with the Banana Man, and let's read chapter 1 of my spooky book. Okay, chapter 1. Please don't poop on me. Please don't poop on me. I already went to church twice, Matt said, staring up from his bed at the large black bird circling around his room. It ignored him for the time being, and as it perched itself comfortably on the very large dark pole jutting from the middle of the floor, feeling a sense of relief, he slowly edged from his bed and out the door. Phew, I really thought it was going to poo on me again. I hate it when it does that. Washing his face, he glanced up at the clock on the wall. Good, now that I'm late, Matt ran back to his room to throw on his jeans and his t-shirt. Stopping him dead in his tracks was the bird. It had jumped off its pole and was now standing in the doorway to his room looking at him, tormenting him. Jet black and tall as a toddler, the bird stood there, its black eyes glowing with a red hue as it gleamed under each wing and stood in his way. Come on, please, I'm already late, Matt pleaded under his breath at the thing. It ignored him. Looking down at the horrible bird, he knew he could get past it. It would be nothing, in fact, to get past it. But he didn't want to. He was terrified to. And it knew it. Matt, get a move on. You're already late for school, his mother said, bounding down the hall toward him. What the heck are you doing just standing here in your drawers? I was, roughly his mother grabbed him by the shoulder and pushed him through the door, past the threshold, and through the bird. Why are you always spacing out like that? You'll never get anything done by dreaming your life away. Feeling his whole body shudder at the strange, warm sensation, he looked over his shoulder to find nothing there. He knew nothing would be there when he looked back, but he also knew there would be consequences for what he had just done. There always was. Sorry, Mom, just trying to remember what I studied last night. Well, it must have been pretty intense to have you standing there all glassy-eyed. It was math. Oh, well, that I understand. Standing with her arms crossed, his mother offered no apology as she watched him get dressed, making sure he didn't space out again. What she didn't know was how grateful he was to have her there. Now that you're done, Captain Pluto, make sure to get Peppermint out and take your lunch in the fridge. I can't drive you to school this morning because I got to pick up your dad from his night shift. The other car broke down. But maybe, just maybe, she said, pointing a short little finger in his face, if you had have been on time, I could have squeezed you in. Or better yet, if you knew how to drive, I wouldn't have to bust my balls chauffeuring you all at the same time. Now get a move on. Matt said a quick sorry and rushed down the hall to do as she asked. He knew his mom could be gruff, but he ignored it because of all he had put her through. He was not what people would call normal. Hey, Peppermint, he said, looking down at the jet white cat cleaning itself in the kitchen. She looked up at him with those bright blue eyes, while her tail went up in a little hook, resembling a candy cane without stripes, thus how she got her name. You ready to leave? His words trailed off as he watched something without a head gallop through the back door. Peppermint watched the creature run by as well and then went back to cleaning herself lazily. You see it too, don't you, girl? The little cat looked up at him and flicked her tail on his leg. You're the only one who understands me. Feeling a little unsure of what waited behind the back door, Matt walked the cat to the front to let her out. As soon as he opened it, galloping wildly around the front yard was the headless deer. It was brown with white spots, and instead of a head, it had two rumps that were attached on both ends of its body. It was kicking its legs out like a seesaw and dropping tiny poops all over the yard from both ends. Sighing, he picked up his book bag and walked out the door. Peppermint gracefully walked around the bucking creature to go for her morning prowl, while Matt watched with envy at her bravery. Gosh, I wish I were normal, he thought as he walked to school alone, thinking of all the things that had happened to him growing up. Off to the corner of his vision, a mountain would flare up in the distance, then fade away. It took him 5 minutes longer than it had to because he had to avoid all the strange obstacles in his way. Okay, can't go down Rose Street because of the mountain valley. Can't go down Pine because of the forest. Looks like Gregory Avenue is opening up today. He mumbled to himself, staring down the different blocks, seeing which one would lead him to his school. Luckily for him, he lived in a suburb with the school in walking distance no matter which direction he chose to go. Unluckily, he never knew which one would be open for him and which one would lead to somewhere else. One time he was running real late on a test day and decided to just risk going through the mountain, for Rose Street was the quickest way. When he ran through, the second he went through the mountain base, darkness stole his vision. In a fright, he started screaming. It was like he had just went into a solid wall and could see nothing. He spun around, lost and in complete darkness. When he felt hands grabbing him, he started biting and scratching the hands, thinking they were bad things in the dark. It had ended up just being other classmates walking to school who had noticed him screaming and spinning. It had also earned him a trip to the hospital, psychiatrist, and the nickname Mr. Paranoid because he kept telling them not to touch him. So now he was one of the crazy kids. Every school had one or two. He was one of the two. The other one was his best friend, Jack Moore. I guess being crazy is better than being picked on, Matt thought, looking at his watch. 10 minutes late, he ran to his high school and straight for math class. He had completely missed homeroom and knew he might get detention for it. Sitting in math class with no one at his table because everyone gave him a wide berth, he felt good about not having to lie completely to his mother. He really did have math today, though that was not why he was spacing out earlier. Ha, look at Mr. Paranoid. He's always late, some of the other students said, chuckling under their breath. See any aliens on the way to school, Mr. Paranoid? One of the more braver kids called out at him. Matt put on his most biggest, frightening smile he could muster and looked at the guy at the other table, saying nothing. He is so weird, the other kids said, but backed off. Matt turned back around, let his cheeks relax. He had learned how to survive with what he went through by acting crazy. When he first started seeing things on his way to school, he would dart and scream or walk around them. Acting like this had earned him many bullies. But fighting crazy and smiling huge made many people back off. Loneliness was always better than being beat up. After detention, he met up with his friend Jack. Hey, Mr. Paranoid, see anything interesting today? The usual. So why were you late today? Your stupid mom couldn't drive you. No, plus I had to go the long way to school. Was it a deer with two butts again? Yeah, but that's not what made me go the long way. The mountain was blocking Rose Street again. You know something? I think you're just making fun of me. Sometimes I think you don't see anything at all. Matt could tell Jack had missed his medication and was roiling himself up. He could always tell when he started throwing around insults and looking wild. The only difference between them was that Jack really was violently crazy. Do you know how long I had to wait for your dumb butt? Jack had said something completely worse, but Matt had a gift in altering the words to fit his mind so that he wouldn't get too offended when his friend was off his meds. Why didn't you take your pills today? I told you before. The Tourette's meds hurts my stomach and the Prozac makes me too sleepy. I have a freaking test today, you dumb stupid butt. Matt tuned out the violent curse words and the things his friend said he would do to him. I think I'm going to go home alone today. See you later, dude. No, wait. Don't leave, his friend said, looking up at him with those pleading blue eyes. He could see the longing past the crazy. How about I lead you to Rose Street? You'll get home faster. Sometimes on Jack's more lucid days, he would grab on Matt's book bag and casually lead him through the strange things he saw. It was awkward and scary, but very nice of his friend to do. The minute they would come upon the mountain, his vision would go black, and he had to trust his friend 100% to lead him through the darkness. Today was not one of those days he could do that. No, I'm in no rush. Then I'll walk with you. You can point out the things you see. Okay. Being Jack's friend was very trying on days like this, but he had no one else. so he put up with it. You're not really crazy like me. I mean, I know who I am, but you're different. You still get good grades and people still like you. You're not even on medication. What are you? Why do you see these things? Matt thought of the answer for a while as they walked home together. He remembered when it had first started happening. He was 5 years old, playing with a jar of pennies on the floor. He had just come home from seeing the carnival and watching the performers swallow objects of different kinds. Being a silly kid, he decided to swallow a handful of pennies he was playing with. He threw them up in the air and caught some with his mouth. Almost immediately, one got stuck in his windpipe, and the world started to spin. His mom had found him slobbering on the floor and took him to the hospital as quick as she could. He had died on the operating table. But his mom didn't give up. She had cried and pleaded with God to bring him back. In 3 minutes, her prayers were answered, and the doctors informed her that his little heart had started beating again. It was a miracle. This was the story she was fond of telling him, and how thankful she was to God for bringing him back. He, of course, didn't remember dying, but he did remember how strange his life had become afterwards. A few months after his accident, he started seeing funny things out of the corners of his eye. Never in front, always off to the side. The things he would see frightened him, but he could never make much sense of them all. As the years progressed, he started seeing things more clearly and in front of his vision. He would point at them and tell his parents what he saw, which at first would amuse them. When it started to enter his life and cause some true fear, they began getting concerned. No, I'm going to get something to drink. Gotta have my sip of coffee. My throat drying out. Okay. He was only 7 years old when they took him to see a child psychiatrist. He was a tall, old man with grayish blue eyes and a pleasant but serious face. He put him at ease with telling him his problem, but he unfortunately did very little to help him with it. All he did was listen and put him on a series of strong anti-hallucinogenic medication, which had no effect on his real situation. It did make him sleepy and sick, though, but nothing else. To get off the meds, he lied and said he no longer saw the things that he saw. He took on nicknames like Captain Pluto from his family members for what they call spacing out, instead of telling them that he still saw strange things. His episodes had caused his mom a lot of embarrassment and inconvenience over the years. So when she was gruff with him, he just ignored it and loved her anyway. The last time it was revealed that he still occasionally saw things was when he had walked through the mountain to go to school. Other than that, only Jack knew his complete secrets. I think I'm just a regular human who just sees weird stuff. My cat can see them too, though. She's the only reason I don't think it's all in my head. Maybe you didn't wake up from your operation as a child. Maybe you're really dead and this is hell. Jack was going through one of his times again. He was a very morbid, insensitive person most of the time anyway, because his parents were not supportive of his problems the way Matt's were. Okay, well, this is my block. I'll see you tomorrow. This isn't your block, and you shouldn't invite me in. We can play video games or something. Not when you're like this. You go home and take your meds, Jack. I'll see you tomorrow. After a berating of cuss words and a few shoves, Jack went home and left Matt to make his way back to his house. As he walked up to his front yard, he saw his mom driving home at the same time. When she got out the car, she had what looked like 2 cases of beer under both arms as she struggled to get her keys in the door. The second her and the beers were in the house, about 50 little white mushrooms sprang up all over the yard. Quick as lightning, 2 little dark trolls ran out of his house and started collecting the mushrooms. They were only ankle high, dark as charcoal, and fat. It was always only 2 of them, and they helped each other collect the mushrooms by unhinging their jaws and stuffing them into mouth pockets. Matt watched them collect the mushrooms for a while. He learned a long time ago that no one else could see the creatures or the mushrooms. Out of nowhere, Peppermint jumped out to chase them. They ran as fast as they could, dropping some of their mushrooms as the cat chased them around the yard. I guess their stew will be a little thin this evening, Matt said, chuckling. for he would watch the creatures put the mushroom into a pot and make a stew on occasions. They always did it somewhere high, usually on top of a dresser or the kitchen's cabinets. "What are you chuckling about?" his mother said from the front door. "Laughing at your poor mouth struggling to get in her booze?" "No, no, just laughing at Peppermint." "Yeah, uh-huh. Well, since you think that's so funny, why don't you take out the trash then, Laughing Boy?" That's a new nickname, Matt thought, slightly annoyed, but he understood his mom's need. Matt knew his dad had been home for a while, but after his night shift, wouldn't be bothered to do anything but sleep or drink. His mom, being a traditional sort, refused to take out the trash. That was men's work, she would say to his dad, while he gave her a hard time making Matt do it would save her a fussing with him. "Yes, Mom. Good, and it's a lot of it. Oh, and take off your shoes when you come through the house. I don't care if you have to put them back on to take out the trash. You're not tracking mud on my floor. Oh, and make sure you empty each trash can, bathroom, kitchen, bedrooms. I want them all empty and lined. Bet you wish you weren't laughing now, huh, Laughing Boy?" Matt nodded the entire time as he kicked off his red and white Converse shoes and walked through the house to get the trash. His mom seemed to be pretty proud of her little trick and relieved that she wouldn't have to wake up his dad. Sat back in her favorite chair and cracked open a beer. "Pass you one too, hun," his dad mumbled, eyes half closed, head leaning back. Silently, she passed him a can, and they both sat up slightly to drink and watch the news. Matt sighed as he pushed his shoes off and on while he took out the trash. "I think people really underestimate how much work school actually is. I like to relax with a beer after a hard day, too," he thought, feeling sorry for himself. When he finally took out the last bag, his mom quickly informed him that tomorrow was trash day and to put the bags in front of the house and not the back. Signing a bit too loudly this time, he walked back outside, letting Peppermint on his way, and headed down the back steps. As he picked up his latest deposit of trash bags, his hand froze and his mouth gaped at what was in the corner of his yard. Sitting in the corner of his backyard was a man with what looked like bright yellow hair, with his knees up in his chest and his head in between them. He looked extremely depressed by his mannerism, though he couldn't see his face. Nervous, Matt ran back in the house and straight to his dad. "Dad, there's a strange man in our yard," Matt said in a frantic whisper as if the man could hear him in the house. "What?" both his parents said at once, coming out of their relaxed state with a start. "Baby, get the bag," his mom said while his dad quickly threw on his shoes and marched to the front door. Matt ran behind his dad with the bat and handed it to him before he went out. His mom snatched the knife out of the kitchen drawer and waited by the phone. "Where'd you see him, Matt?" his dad shouted as he ran down the steps. "In the corner of the yard, all tucked up in like the fetal position." "I don't see him. He must have ran off when he heard us coming." Matt ran down the steps to verify his dad's words when he immediately saw the man still tucked up in the corner of the yard. "No, Dad, he's right there," Matt said, pointing frantically. "Where, son? I don't see him." "Right there." Matt's words trailed off in horror as he slowly started to understand. His dad couldn't see the man because the man wasn't really there, or at least not in the plane of existence that most people saw. "Never mind." "He ran," Matt said, trembling and staring at the strange man. "Ah, well, he's lucky then. You go on inside. I'll take the trash to the front, okay?" Matt nodded and backed all the way slowly into the house. "What's wrong? You said he ran off," Matt's mom said, looking at her son shake all over. "Yeah, he just seemed really creepy, that's all. I'm going to go watch Dad through the window, just in case he comes back." Looking through the back window, Matt never took his eyes off the strange man sitting in the corner of the yard. "It's never been humans before," Matt thought as terror started to build in his heart. It's one thing to see creatures, but humanoids now? There was something seriously creepy about humans being part of his other world. Who was he? What can this new thing do? All night, Matt sat in bed, too afraid to sleep. He watched the small trolls drop white mushrooms in a pot on top of his dresser to make their stew, Watching them stir their pot and unhinge their jaws to pour the stew in was borderline relaxing compared to the thought of that man in his yard. The only thought in his mind while he tried to sleep was the hope that the man would be gone tomorrow and no longer haunt his other world. But something deep down told him that that hope was a dream and things would never be the same again. Okay, guys, that was chapter 1 of The Banana Man. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading of it. If y'all want to hear more, let me know in the comments. If y'all want to buy it, check out the links in the description below. And it was a lot of fun to read. I haven't read it out loud actually ever. It's my first time reading it out loud. So I'm very happy with how it turned out, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I always say my saying at the end of my videos, but y'all already know I'm an author and that I wrote my own books. Here they all are. I always say at the end of my vids. But here they are, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, guys. Bye.